My shop smells like fresh cut stems and damp earth, and I wouldn't have it any other way. It's the smell of life, you know? Most people think of flowers as pretty decorations, but to me, they're tiny, defiant soldiers of joy. Every morning, I get to unlock my door and walk into this little explosion of color. Fiery tulips, moody purple irises, carnations that look like tiny pink sunsets. It's my sanctuary, the place where I build my armor, one bouquet at a time. My husband, Tom, calls me my eternal optimist, and he's not wrong. But it's not a personality trait I was born with. It's one I've earned, one I've built from the ground up, petal by petal. Every happy customer, every perfectly arranged centerpiece, every time my daughter, Rose, comes in after school and buries her face in a bunch of sunflowers, it's another brick in the beautiful, fragrant wall I've built around our life. A wall to keep the bad things out. And for 25 years, it worked. The bad thing had a face once. A pale, sweaty face that I saw for only a second in a flashlight's beam, his breath fogging up my bedroom window. I was 16. My room was my whole world. Posters on the wall, books piled high, a little bubble of privacy where a girl is supposed to feel safe. He took that from me. He stood out there in the dark, night after night, just watching. The police report called him a peeping Tom. It sounds almost silly, like some old-timey cartoon character. But there's nothing silly about the feeling of a stranger's eyes on you when you think you're alone. It's a special kind of poison, one that seeps under your skin and stays there. It turns every shadow in the corner of your eye into a threat, every creak of a floorboard into an approaching footstep. After that, I became obsessed with locks, with deadbolts, with the specific, satisfying click of a window latch seating properly. I promised myself two things. I would never feel that powerless again, and I would build a life so bright and full of love that no darkness could ever find a crack to get in. My home, the one Tom and I poured our savings into, with its big garden and sturdy fence, was meant to be the heart of that promise, my inviolable sanctuary. A place where every window was latched and every shadow was just a shadow. That's why when I came home last night, the little clay bird Rosie made me in 3rd grade being on the left side of the kitchen windowsill made my blood run cold. It wasn't a big deal. Tom could have moved it. Rose could have. Except I knew they hadn't. Because I'm the one who closes and locks that window every single night before bed. And I always put the little bird on the right. It's a silly little ritual, another one of my bricks in the wall, a silent confirmation that all is secure. Someone had been inside my house, or maybe, somehow, they were still in here with me, and they wanted me to know they were watching. I didn't tell Tom about the bird. How could I? Honey, I think someone broke in and moved Rose's art project 3 inches to the left. He would have thought I was losing my mind, and honestly, a part of me thought he'd be right. I spent the next day at the shop, arranging peonies and trying to force the rational part of my brain to take over. It was the wind, a tremor from a passing truck. Rosie must have bumped it yesterday and forgot. I went through 100 perfectly logical explanations and believed none of them. The feeling of being watched had returned, a cold weight at the base of my skull that hadn't been there since I was a teenager. It followed me home from the shop, and it sat with me at the dinner table while I laughed at Tom's stupid jokes and asked Rosie about her math test. I was performing. A perfect imitation of the happy, carefree woman I had been just a day before. The first time I saw her, it was just a trick of the light. I was washing dishes, looking out the window above the sink into our darkening backyard. For a split second, in the reflection on the glass, I saw a woman standing behind me in the dining room doorway. She was tall and thin, and the image was so fleeting I couldn't make out any details. I spun around, my heart hammering against my ribs, a dishcloth dripping soapy water onto the floor. There was nothing there, just the empty archway and the warm golden light of the living room beyond it. Just tired, I whispered to myself, my voice shaky, but I couldn't shake the after-image, the distinct impression of a long, sorrowful face and a high, dark collar. A week later, the performance was starting to crack. Little things were happening, tiny incursions into my fortress of order. A book on the coffee table I knew I had left closed would be open to a random page. The back door, which I obsessively locked and checked, would be ajar by a single, unnerving inch. Tom and Rose swore they hadn't touched anything. I was living in a state of quiet, humming anxiety, jumping at every creak of the floorboards, my old rituals of locking and checking multiplying into a frantic, obsessive ballet. The real scare came on a Tuesday night. Tom and Rose were asleep, and I was curled up on the sofa, pretending to read, but really just listening to the sounds of the house. The television was off, its screen a black, reflective mirror. I glanced up, and my breath caught in my throat. She was there, reflected in the screen, standing in the same dining room doorway. This time she wasn't a fleeting glimpse. She was still, unnaturally still, like a photograph. She wore a simple, high-collared gray dress that seemed to be from another time, and her long, dark hair was pulled back severely. Her face was the most terrifying part. It was a mask of profound, bottomless sadness. Her eyes, even in the faint reflection, seemed to be fixed on me, not with malice, but with a deep, aching envy that felt more violating than any threat. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. I was 16 again, pinned by an intruder's gaze. I squeezed my eyes shut, and when I opened them, the reflection was empty. That did it. I wasn't just tired anymore, I was terrified. But fear quickly gave way to the one feeling I would not allow in my home: powerlessness. The next few days, I became a detective in my own house. I checked every window and door, not just once, but 5, 10 times a day. I even dug out the old blueprints to see if there were any hidden entrances, any priest holes, or forgotten passages I didn't know about. I spent hours online digging into the history of our property, looking for some clue, some rational explanation. I found her on a grainy, black and white photo on the county's Historical Society website. Fati, a woman who had lived and died alone in this very house almost 80 years ago. No family, no children. The caption said she was a recluse, a forgotten soul. And I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to the bone, that it was her. The point of no return came on a bright, sunny Saturday afternoon. I was looking out the kitchen window, watching Rose play in the garden I'd spent years cultivating, my sanctuary within a sanctuary. And there, standing by the old oak tree at the edge of the yard, was Fati. She wasn't a reflection this time. She was there, solid-looking in the afternoon light, but slightly out of focus, like a heat haze. She was just standing there, her sorrowful eyes fixed on my daughter, on my beautiful, happy life. Something inside me snapped. The years of carefully constructed optimism, the walls I had built brick by fragrant brick, they all came crumbling down. This was my garden. This was my daughter. This was my life. Rage, hot and pure, burned away the fear. I wasn't a victim. Not anymore. I threw open the back door and ran out onto the lawn, my voice raw as I screamed at the silent, sorrowful figure, "Get away from my family!" My scream ripped through the perfect sunny afternoon. Rose, who had been crouched over a ladybug on a dandelion stem, looked up, her face a mask of confusion and fear. But my eyes were locked on the figure by the oak tree. As the sound left my lungs, Fati dissolved. She didn't run or fade. She simply wasn't there anymore, like a wisp of smoke caught in a sunbeam. For a heartbeat, I thought I'd won. Rose started to cry. "Mommy, who are you yelling at?" I ran to her, scooping her into my arms, my rage deflating into a shaky, protective terror. "No one, sweetie. Mommy just saw a big spider." It was a weak lie. I carried her back inside, my eyes scanning the yard. The back of my neck prickled. She was gone from the garden, but she wasn't gone from the house. I could feel her. I put Rose in her room with her tablet, telling her I needed to clean up. My heart was a frantic drum against my ribs. No more waiting. This ended now. I started in the living room. "I know you're here," I said, my voice low and trembling. "This is my house. You have to leave." Only the hum of the refrigerator answered. I moved through the dining room, my eyes darting to every reflective surface. Nothing. Then a flicker of movement in my peripheral vision. I spun towards the hallway. At the far end, just outside our bedroom, she stood, a tall, sorrowful silhouette. She was just watching. "What do you want from me?" I demanded. She vanished. It became a horrific game of cat and mouse. I'd see a glimpse of her gray dress disappearing around the corner into the kitchen, and I'd follow, but the kitchen would be empty. Then I'd catch her reflection in the kitchen window, showing her standing right behind me. I'd whirl around, a cry caught in my throat, only to find empty air. She was leading me through my own home, turning every familiar, beloved space into a stage for her silent torment. My sanctuary had become a labyrinth. I was chasing her up the stairs when the smell hit me. The vibrant, living scent of our home was suddenly choked out by a thick, oppressive smell of dust and decay. It grew stronger as I reached the top of the stairs. She was at the end of the hall, standing before the door to Rose's room. Her form seemed more solid this time, less like a heat haze and more like a faded photograph. She turned and drifted through the closed door. "No," I whispered. A cold, absolute dread washed over me. Not my daughter's room, not that sacred space. I burst forward, threw open the door, and there she was. Fati was cornered, standing in the narrow space between Rose's bed with its bright pink comforter and the wall. I stood in the doorway, panting, my entire body thrumming with terror and adrenaline. I had her. I had finally trapped her. I expected her to lash out. Instead, she just turned her head slowly to face me. Her sorrowful eyes met mine, and the world fell away. It wasn't an attack. It was an offering, a deluge, a psychic barrage of pure, undiluted misery poured into me. I felt the rough, cheap fabric of her dress against my skin, the constant gnawing chill of a poorly heated house. I tasted stale bread and lukewarm tea. I heard the monotonous ticking of a grandfather clock in an empty hall, each tick a hammer blow marking another second of crushing, absolute loneliness. I felt the sharp, bitter sting of envy as she, watched happy families walk past the window, their laughter a physical pain.
I felt her womb as a cold, empty ache. I felt the slow, agonizing process of her body giving out, alone in this house. No one to hold her hand, no one to even know she was gone for weeks until the smell brought them. Her name echoed in the screaming silence of my mind. Fati. And I saw it, a final, clear image. A small, unmarked patch of earth in the most neglected corner of the local cemetery. Her body laid to rest with no stone to mark her existence. The torrent of misery receded, leaving me on my knees in the doorway sobbing, not from fear, but from a soul-crushing pity.
The next day, I found her grave. It was exactly where she had shown me, a patch of overgrown weeds between two crumbling, forgotten headstones. Tom and Rose were at their parents' for the day. I was alone. From the back of my car, I pulled out the most beautiful arrangement I had ever made, a riot of brilliant, defiant sunflowers, the happiest flowers I know. I knelt and cleared the weeds with my bare hands, my fingers digging into the cool, damp earth. Then I laid the flowers down on the unmarked soil. "Fati," I said, my voice thick with emotion, "I see you. You are not forgotten." A gentle breeze rustled the leaves of the oak tree overhead. The oppressive weight that had been sitting on my shoulders for weeks lifted. The constant prickling sensation of being watched was gone. The air felt clean and light. I looked up, and for a fleeting instant, I saw her standing by the grave. The deep, sorrowful lines on her face were gone, replaced with a faint, peaceful smile. She gave me a small, almost imperceptible nod, and then, like the morning mist burning off in the sun, she dissolved into the light, gone for good. A feeling of pure relief washed over me. I had won! I had protected my sanctuary, not with rage, but with compassion. My optimism, my hard-won shield, had held. As I stood to leave, a final gift bloomed in my mind. It came with the same psychic clarity as her memories, but this was not the past. This was the future. The screech of tires on wet asphalt, the smell of gasoline and rain, the horrifying crunch of metal. Tom is in the driver's seat, his head against the deployed airbag, a dark stain spreading on the white fabric. But my eyes are pulled to the back seat, to Rose, my beautiful, vibrant daughter, her head at an unnatural angle, her eyes open and staring at nothing. And I know, with a sudden, gut-wrenching, and absolute certainty, that this will happen in 2 years, 4 months, and 7 days from now. The vision was gone as quickly as it came, but the knowledge it left behind was a shard of ice in my soul. Fati was free, but in her place, she had left me with a new curse, a far crueler one. She had swapped the torment of being watched for the unbearable agony of knowing what was to come. I stand here now in my bright, beautiful kitchen. The house is quiet and peaceful. There are no more watchers in the reflections, no more phantoms in the doorways. My home is finally truly my own, but it is no longer a sanctuary. It's a prison of a different kind. A waiting room. Every laugh from Rose, every piss from Tom, every "I love you, Mommy," is now laced with the poison of my terrible, unalterable knowledge.
My old fear was of a stranger's eyes, violating my private space from the outside, a fear I could fight with locks and alarms and walls of flowers. But this new fear, this one lives inside me. Fati was a spectator to my joy. Now I am the sole silent spectator to my own tragedy. And every single day, I have to perform the role of a happy, optimistic mother, all while the silent, screaming watcher inside my own head counts down the days.
There are more scares to share. Press the like button and subscribe so you don't miss a single terrifying moment. You're helping me investigate the deepest, darkest corners to bring you stories that haunt your dreams.